right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tonight, face-off between the top attorneys at the state and city level.
The Attorney General, as others, used this unfortunate incident and tragic happening to this young lady as a political stunt.
I'm obligated under the statute to hold Kim Gardner responsible for her failure to discharge her legal, moral, and ethical duties.
The Attorney General joining us live exclusively tonight, answering our questions. And we asked the new St. Louis Police Chief to weigh in. Hours ago, Kim Gardner announced she is staying put, despite Andrew Bailey's ultimatum to resign or be removed from office. Good evening. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ann Allred.
And I'm Mike Bush. Gardner has also faced several calls from political allies and foes to step down in the wake of a tragic crash where a Tennessee teen lost her legs. Our Robert Townsend is live tonight outside Gardner's office in downtown St. Louis.
Mike and Ann, tonight all is quiet here outside the Carnahan Courthouse, but let me tell you, this afternoon things quickly fired up on the 4th floor. Amid loud applause from dozens of supporters, St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner took to a podium and first acknowledged the loved ones of 17-year-old Janae Edmondson.
I want to express my deepest sympathy for Janae Edmondson and her family.
Saturday night, the Tennessee teen was in town for a volleyball tournament. Police say Edmondson and her family were walking back to their downtown hotel when Daniel Riley sped down St. Charles Street, hit several cars, including a Malibu that pinned Janae. The girl's legs had to be amputated.
Our focus must remain on supporting them and bringing the individual responsible to justice.
The tragic crash has ignited a firestorm for Gardner, who's been the center of controversy since she was elected the city's circuit attorney 6 years ago. At the time of the crash, Riley was on bond for a 2020 armed robbery and was supposed to be on house arrest. Today, Gardner said her office did their part.
On 3 separate occasions, as recently as last month, my office requested the defendant's bond be revoked. The court either denied or ignored each of these requests.
Today, a court spokesperson released a written transcript of Riley's August 2022 court appearance. In the transcript, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and the judge all agreed to release Riley on bond.
I called upon her to resign or face a legal removal proceeding.
Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey says Riley never should have been driving that car. Bailey also claims Gardner mismanaged her office, resulting in a mass exodus of employees, and now should step down.
My office has filed a petition of quo warranto and initiated legal proceedings to remove her from office.
The people have a process if they do not no longer want me in this office, and that's called an election.
We're going to stand behind her 100%.
Gardner supporters include clergy members, community activists, and the St. Louis NAACP. We're live downtown. I'm Robert Townsend. 5 on Your Side.
And tonight, a 5 on Your Side exclusive. Just 10 hours after filing the motion to remove Kim Gardner from office in Jefferson City, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey joined us now live in studio. Mr. Attorney General, thank you very much for being here. This is a pretty high bar. You may think that Kim Gardner is disorganized. You may think she isn't aggressive enough, but you have to prove willful neglect. That is a high bar.
It is, and thankfully this rarely occurs, and it has rarely occurred in the history of the state of Missouri, but that speaks to what a bad situation we have here in the city of St. Louis and the necessity for immediate action to restore law and order and to find justice for victims, and that's what motivates me.
You filed this in the St. Louis Circuit Court, which is the court where Gardner prosecutes cases, and her staff. Will all of the judges have to maybe recuse themselves possibly because they work with her and they have for the last 6 years?
And they actually have tonight. They have recused themselves.
And I think that's the right answer. Those judges have recused themselves because they're likely witnesses at a subsequent trial. Those witnesses that are on the bench here in the 22nd Judicial Circuit will likely testify to some of the behaviors that constitute willful neglect. And that's the evidence we're going to use to put an end to this and to ensure that law and order is restored to the city of St. Louis.
So who's the judge? What happens next then?
My understanding is that the Supreme Court will appoint a judge and that they'll select somebody who can come in and hear the case. And there will be a brief period of discovery where we will gather all the evidence. We'll have to turn that evidence over to Circuit Attorney Gardner, and she'll have her day in court, and we will as well. And we believe we have enough evidence to prove willful neglect.
Let me play devil's advocate, because Kim Gardner didn't just win her election, she got 74% of the vote. You, on the other hand, were appointed by the governor. So are you saying you know better than the voters? Isn't that a slippery slope?
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that at this point in time, Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner is willfully neglectful and violating the statute and her statutory obligation to discharge her duties in office. And that the people's elected representatives have enacted statutes that authorize the state of Missouri to use a check and balance to remove her from office, and that's what I intend to do.
So if you are successful in removing her from office, Governor Parson will handpick her successor. Is it an option, would you be open to, if it is an option, you working with local officials, Secretary of State Ashcroft, and the governor to organize a special election? Because her supporters are crying voter suppression. And then the voters can pick her successor. And in the meantime, the governor can pick an interim prosecutor. Would that be possible?
Well, that process will be guided by statute and by the governor's office, and the governor's already committed to working with local officials on that. So this is not about undermining the will of the voters. I'm looking to protect the voters that are being victimized by her refusal to discharge her moral, ethical, and legal obligations.
All right, so what's the timeline here? When do you expect that the Supreme Court would name a judge? And then how long will it take for the hearings to begin? And even the appeals, because I would imagine Kim Gardner will appeal whatever decision if it comes down against her.
I'm hopeful that the court will appoint a special judge to hear this matter, maybe even tomorrow, hopefully no later than...
Well, that's soon.
I would hope so. Look, we're trying to expedite this process because the people of the city of St. Louis deserve clarity and deserve law and order. And so this process needs to move as expeditiously as it can within the confines of due diligence and due process to get a resolution for the people of the city.
And will she stay in the job as this process goes on?
We're going to request immediate removal, and it'll be up to a judge to determine whether to sign that order or to keep her in office while we adjudicate the motion.
All right, Andrew Bailey, the Missouri Attorney General, thank you so much for your time tonight and for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
5 on Your Side also extended an invitation to Kim Gardner for her own live interview tonight. We did not hear back from her office.
Tonight, the St. Louis Police Officers Association is thanking Attorney General Andrew Bailey for, quote, having the courage to stand up to Kim Gardner and finally taking her to task for years of incompetence. The statement goes on to say, unfortunately, Janae Edmondson isn't the first victim who has been affected by Kim Gardner's failures as circuit attorney, but hopefully she will be the last.
We caught up with one of Kim Gardner's supporters today. Reverend Daryl Gray is an activist for racial justice. He admits Gardner has made some mistakes, but she is not fully to blame.
It was COVID that caused a bottleneck in the criminal justice system with the circuit courts, with the police, with the circuit attorney. But where does the blame lie? Where does the fault lie? We've got a criminal justice system that needs to be revisited, that needs to be overhauled, that needs to be strengthened.
Reverend Gray says he hopes Gardner and Attorney General Bailey can sit down together and work on solutions.
New tonight, a local volleyball club is honoring and showing support for Janae Edmondson. The Crossfire Elite Volleyball Club came together in between practices to hold a club prayer for Janae and her family. The volleyball team wearing purple Play for Nay t-shirts in solidarity. They also sat on the gym floor to make a giant 23 representing the number on Janae's jersey.
Club volleyball is a family, and we're here tonight as Crossfire just to extend our love and sympathy for the family and let them know that they have an army behind them outside of their club and all across the country.
The club wants to help raise and teach the next generation of volleyball players, and you can donate to help Janae Edmondson and her family. For more information, just text the word support to 314-425-5355. A strained relationship with the prosecutor's office, a department hemorrhaging officers for higher paying jobs, and a push to put the department under state control.
Those are the challenges St. Louis's newly appointed police chief is facing. Tonight, he sat down with our Christine Byers to talk about his first 30 days in office. Christine.
And the mayor's office gave us 15 minutes to talk to the newly minted chief. So we covered as many tough questions as we could. No topic was off limits, including where he stands on the department's contentious relationship with Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner. We're going to get right into this. Do you think Kim Gardner needs to resign?
My job is to make sure that we do everything right in policing, help reduce crime. I'll work with anyone in the criminal justice system. I have done that in 3 other cities, including this city. So we're going to continue to work with the Circuit Attorney's office because we got a job to do. We got to do it professionally. So I stay more apolitical and just work with whoever's in office. So for me to make that decision, that's not my decision making.
What have you done here in the first 30 days to improve the department's relationship with Kim Gardner?
Well, I've had several conversations with her. There were some high-profile cases her and I discussed. And, you know, we worked through a few things on it, and there wasn't that much of an issue. Where things have happened in the past, where I understand there might have been some issues and everything, I have to move forward. I'm a person that comes in with a clean slate. We talked about that and how we can move forward.
Have you made any progress on the exclusion list? The officers that her office has deemed not credible to bring cases?
I've been meeting with some of our top command staff who've actually reviewed that with their office, and I'm continuing to review to see exactly where we're seeing some things that might be different from the Brady list, and I'm sure that will be a future conversation I'm having, but it is certainly something that I am looking at.
Are you in favor of state control of this police department?
I only know local control, so every place that I've worked has been local control, and we've had success. So to ask me, is it better under state or local? You know, I don't think I'm an expert on that. I know I am an expert on local control, and we've had success with that. So when I'm asked about it, I believe in local control.
Do you believe St. Louis police officers deserve a raise?
Yes, I'm a second-generation police officer. I've come up through the ranks. Yes, do we do a tremendous job and the type of work that police officers do? Would I want to be paid the best? Absolutely. What police chief wouldn't? Because that would help me with my department, would help with morale. But there's always an ability to pay, and also making sure you're a good steward of money and with the taxpayers.
How many police officers do you think this department needs?
Right now, there's a crisis in the United States, not just here in the city of St. Louis, about us losing officers and trying to attract people into the profession. My job is to make sure that we can try to make this as attractive as possible.
You have your budgeted strength, your authorized strength, if you will. Do you think that's enough?
Let's get up to that first. You know, right now, we have to make sure that everybody's going to look to a new police chief. There's no surrender, there's no failing. You look to us to make sure that even though there's obstacles like every other police department or a corporation, or everybody's hurting for people, how do I find a way as a CEO to make sure that we can get the job done with less police officers? That's my job. And I'm going to find ways to make sure we do it responsibly, and we try to get crime reduction with the amount of police officers we have. Bring more in. I don't want to settle at this number. I want to bring more in, get it up, and then we can expand on some of those things.
Now, Chief Tracy also boasted about his time in Wilmington, Delaware, where he was part of turning the tide on that city's reputation as Murder City, USA. I asked him how he plans to do the same thing in St. Louis when the strategies and technology he used in Delaware have been used here in St. Louis for years. To hear his answer, along with the full interview, go to KSDK.com, the 5+ app on Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and the KSDK YouTube page.
Tonight, St. Charles residents packed a church gymnasium to get answers from the EPA about cleanup efforts affecting the city's drinking water.
It comes just 2 weeks after the agency announced Ameren was the source of contamination near the Elm Point well field. Our Laura Barczewski was at tonight's public meeting.
We want it cleaned up, and we want good water.
The EPA says right now Ameren is doing more cleanup work at the Houston substation, which should be complete by the end of March.
We are requiring Ameren to take some additional actions, and those actions include a focused feasibility study to really identify the nature and extent where and how much of this contamination is there, and then look at what the long-term options could be. And we're also requiring them to install a barrier which will break down contaminants as the groundwater flows through that barrier.
As part of that feasibility study, the EPA says a whole new well field is something that can be looked at. They're also asking Ameren to work with the city.
And work with the city to determine ways to safely use municipal wells, including developing a well pumping plan.
But Mayor Dan Borgmeyer says there still hasn't been any collaboration between the city and Ameren.
I keep hearing that the EPA is working with Ameren, and Ameren's going to do a feasibility study, and Ameren's going to do this, and Ameren's going to do that. We've never met anybody from Ameren. Nobody on their corporate side has contacted us, and I think that is a horrible failing.
St. Charles residents say while they're glad Ameren has taken responsibility, they still don't have faith in the cleanup process.
They said that the contamination was not spreading before, and then we find out from this new testing that the contamination has spread. EPA has told us, Ameren did clean up the contamination, but by looking at this new contamination, obviously they didn't. So it's hard to trust them.
But Ameren is confident the plan will work, and they brought outside experts in to make sure.
Based on the successful treatment of sites around the country, we anticipate we'll start seeing positive results within weeks. Robust testing will continue to ensure drinking water remains safe.
Reporting in St. Charles, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
Ameren said in a statement on its website, it hopes to see reduction in contamination by early summer of this year. New information tonight on a deadly fire at a Metro East storage facility. Investigators with the Major Case Squad now believe the cause was accidental. This fire broke out early Tuesday morning inside a unit at Store All Storage that's in East Alton. The victim has been identified as James Huck. Investigators do not believe he was murdered, but police did arrest a woman who knew the victim and charged her with obstruction of justice.
Tonight, an end of an era for St. Louis's aerospace manufacturing. Boeing has announced it will stop production of the FA-18 Super Hornet in 2025. The fighter jet has been built at Boeing's St. Louis plant since 1983. Boeing says it does not expect a reduction in the local workforce. Right now, 1,500 people work on the program. Production could extend through 2027 if the company receives an international order. Boeing also says maintenance and modification work will continue here for decades. Just 2 hours ago, the Race, Listen, Learn, Live Black History event wrapped up at the Missouri History Museum. 5 on your side's Kelly Jackson and Brent Solomon moderated a discussion that was open to the public. 9 panelists, including local athletes, business professionals, and students, joined in the important conversation.
The all clear tonight at the St. Louis Zoo. For the second time in 2 weeks, the same bear escaped its enclosure. An Andean bear named Ben escaped from its habitat in the River's Edge area this afternoon. A zoo spokesperson says Ben just simply wants to explore. The zoo was placed on lockdown to ensure the safety of visitors, and it made quite a memorable experience for one visitor.
For me, it was a little bit more scary. I seen all the police officers and the K-9 units inside. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Yeah, so it was new to me, definitely.
It's new to all of us. Workers found the bear quickly about just 100 feet away from its habitat. They used a tranquilizer to safely return the animal to its enclosure. No one was hurt, and the zoo returned to normal operations. What a clever bear who obviously does not want to be at the zoo.
Or he wants to explore the zoo.
Yeah, he wants to meet all the patrons.
And all the other animals.
I thought he was at the airport earlier today getting on that new Frontier flight to Jamaica.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, they did have a big person in a bear costume.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, you never know. All right, Ben's got ideas. He's kind of got the right idea now that the colder weather's coming in here. Temperatures have dropped into the 20s north and west of St. Louis. Warrenton at 26 right now, 25 up in Pittsfield, probably very similar as you head to Louisiana and Bowling Green. You've got 33 at Scott Air Force Base in DeSoto. In St. Louis proper, we have seen temperatures drop to around 30 degrees. Officially at Lambert right now, looking at a temperature of 31. And that wind, there's still a breeze tonight. It feels like it's 22 degrees with that northwest wind at 10. 19 is our dew point. The air's very dry. 58 the high today. You're saying, when the heck was that? Right after midnight last night. And the cooler air has been filtering in since then. So overnight tonight, we're dropping into the upper teens, maybe north and west of St. Louis, most of us in the low to mid 20s. The clouds, they're mainly south of St. Louis, though we have a few scattered clouds around the metro area. The colder temperatures, look at that, single digits up to our north. Tomorrow, there is a little disturbance coming across the plains, but most of the active weather is staying well to our west. So tomorrow, basically an increase in cloud cover across the region. We start chilly, temperatures in the 20s, but then we're back into the 40s, just a hair below average tomorrow. If you have plans tomorrow night heading out and about, as those clouds increase through the afternoon and evening hours, we may have Later tomorrow evening, a chance for a few sprinkles or very light showers. This is not going to amount to much. Temperatures are all above freezing. Ground temperatures are warm. It's not a problem. Saturday, you've got a mix of sun and clouds, probably limited sunshine at times, back into the mid-50s. Next active weather, here it is, rolling our way for Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. Most of the heavier rain will happen Sunday night, it appears, into early Monday morning. Then this system scoots off to the east Monday, bringing an end to any rain, and temperatures under a gusty breeze will climb back into the 60s. Severe weather threat should stay either well to our west on Sunday or well to our east on Monday. By the time we get to the beginning of March on Wednesday, our temperatures above average once again.
Scott, thank you. Frank, what's coming up?
And we have Blues, Battlehawks, Illinois, and the latest on Libitor. Stick around. We have a fun show coming your way.
The Sports Desk is brought to you by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer, 10 years running.
I'm beginning to think that football is like pasta. You can have it every day. The XFL is back. I'm supposed to be leading with hockey and basketball in late February, but the Battlehawks were in Seattle tonight. Now, you remember Jim Haslett? The former Rams coach is now the head coach of the Sea Dragons. Remember Josh Gordon? Booted out of the NFL, great player, catches the three-point conversion, 12-0 Seattle early. Now, let's check out a two-point conversion for the Battlehawks. A.J. McCarron to Marcel Aitman. It was 12-8 Seattle. Fourth quarter, McCarron, Hakeem Butler, 44 yards on the touchdown, and the Battlehawks lead this one 17-12 late in the fourth quarter. So the season hasn't gone as planned for the Blues. There will be better days. But my takeaway from tonight is this. The Canucks are a sixth-place team. The Blues are a sixth-place team. It's a Thursday night, and the Blues had a sellout. The Blues fans are the greatest. And it's 2-0 Blues. Jordan Binnington was brilliant for a while. Connor Garland on the breakaway. Binner says, not today. But the Canucks tied it with 30 seconds to go in regulation, and Elias Pettersson will win the game in overtime right here. The Canucks win it 3-2. The Blues have lost 4 in a row. So the Fighting Illini will go to the NCAA tourney. The question is, where will they be seated? Tonight's game could go a long way. They hosted the surprise team of the Big Ten, the Northwestern Wildcats, one of the coolest names in college basketball. Boo Buie, unstoppable. He had 35 points tonight. Brett Underwood wondering if he chose the right profession. The Wildcats were up 18 at halftime, but Illinois made a run early in the half. Ty Rodgers to the rack. It's a 4-point game. Then their best player, Terrence Shannon Jr. Watch him glide to the rim. Illinois up 2. Defensive play of the day in the dying moments. Coleman Hawkins will block Bowie's shot. Coming up right here, and Illinois escapes with a 66-62 victory. So every night at 10 o'clock, we give you a spring training fix with Cardinal broadcaster Mike Claiborne. And as Yankee legend Bob Lemon once said, the two most important things in life are good friends and a good bullpen. And one guy competing for a spot in that bullpen is Matthew Libitor. He was the player in the Randy Arozarena trade, so Libitor has felt a lot of pressure. He struggled in 34 innings last year with the Cardinals, but has logged a lot of innings in Memphis. He's only 23, so what does he have to do now to make it, Mike?
He's got to establish a strike zone a little bit more. He's got a very good curveball. He's got to be able to spot the fastball a little bit more and not give up on the curveball. The curveball always takes his time getting it back into the strike zone. So he's got to be able to make it a little snappier, a little tighter. If he can do that along with spotting his fastball up and down in the strike zone, in and out, he might have a chance.
So the Cardinals have revealed their modern players for their Hall of Fame ballot. Steve Carlton, Matt Morris, Joaquin Andujar, David Freese, Edgar Renteria. Only one kid get in. The fans are voting. I'm guessing it's David Freese, although Steve Carlton obviously had the greatest career. And that will do it in sports.
All right, Frank, thanks. We'll be right back. Move over, Budweiser. Not really, but Yuengling has officially poured into the Show Me State. The Pennsylvania-based brand is the oldest American brewery. Yuengling draft beer is already available. Bottles and cans will be showing up in stores in the next week or two.
I remember it's a coveted thing. Like, not all states have that beer. I don't know why.
I don't think Budweiser's too worth.
Yeah.
There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Have a great tomorrow.